Republicans call us colored people and ask why we should be offended. We have had to vote on things like the SAVE Act, which is the new and improved poll tax that would disenfranchise so many Americans, including Black people. We have spent more time fighting for the rights of stoves and refrigerators than we have fighting for the rights of young men and women, veterans, our LGBTQ community, and women's rights. And all of these things are happening in Congress because of Mike Johnson, who is getting his talking points from Donald Trump. What we need, what we have in front of us, is the antithesis to all of that madness, which is Vice President Kamala Harris, someone who has stood in the gap as the district attorney for San Francisco, as the attorney general for the state of California, and as a U.S. senator for all of California, and now the vice president to the United States, attempting to become the first president of this country. And she has fought against climate change. She has fought for protections of our workers. She has fought to make sure that we have the right to love who we want to love, to pray to whom we want to pray to read what we want to read. And she has a plan, along with the receipts, that really put Black Americans first. You have heard from so many other folks about what her plan includes, right? A national health equity initiative that focuses on prostate cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, sugar, high cholesterol, sickle cell. You have heard about the subsidies for first-time homeowners, for $50,000 up to a $50,000 deduction for folks who are wanting to start a new business, $1 million in forgivable loans for new entrepreneurs, the historic Inflation Reduction Act, and bipartisan infrastructure that are putting hundreds of billions of dollars into our community to help us build up our bridges and our roads, and also make sure that we have climate resilient cities. She has done all of that, and she will continue to do more. You know, bringing down the cost of insulin, inhalers, hearing aids for our nanas and our papas and some of our aunties that can't hear so well. She has done that. $167 billion in forgivable student loan debt. I was at an event here in Culver City, and the young woman who introduced President Biden said, you know, you all will have my vote because I can now afford to buy a home and begin to have a family because my student loan debt has been forgiven. All of those things are at risk if she is not elected. And we cannot afford to lose any of the gains that we have made. This is a woman who will have the opportunity to appoint 3 new Supreme Court justices to the Supreme Court. So if you are not mad already about what this conservative majority court is doing, your hair will blow back. We will need another Crown Act to help us keep our curls if we lose 3 new seats if she is not elected. I just want to add this. I have known Kamala Harris since she was the Attorney General for the state of California when she was running to be the Attorney General. And this is a woman who is so busy, and yet she has found the time to check in on me, to ask me how I am doing, what I am working on. And at the time, I was very interested in incarcerated women. And she was the one who suggested that I lean into that. And in fact, it was her encouragement that allowed me to create the Select Committee on Incarcerated Women while I was in the California legislature. And she continued to check on me to find out how I was progressing with that work. And when I got to Congress, she called and said, hey, how can we partner on this? Because I remember that that was something that was of interest to you as it is to me. That shows me who she is as a person, her character, her integrity, and the fact that she continues to see me and the folks that I am working for. And I'll tell you something else. When she was running for the U.S. Senate, she went to an event. A number of us showed up. I brought my young son, who was then in middle school, and he was incredibly stressed out because he was thinking about where he was going to go to his next school and if he was going to get in. And in front of all of these big, important people, she made a beeline to him to introduce herself to him and to check in on him. Years later, actually last year, we were at the White House for an event and she was there, and I brought my son, not so little anymore. And she made a beeline right to him, and she started up the conversation where they had left off years and years ago. She remembered him. I'm sharing this because we are in the fight for all of the votes, including the votes of our Black men. And I'm here to tell you that I know from personal experience that Kamala Harris not only sees Black women and Black families, but she sees our Black men and our Black boys too. And we want a president who will make sure that there is a table wide enough and long enough for all of us to be at, to talk about the issues that concern us, to talk about the dreams and desires that we have, not just for ourselves, but for our families and our communities. And we want a president who is willing to create a table big enough for all of us so that all of our voices can be heard. The only candidate running for president with that kind of soul and compassion is Vice President Kamala Harris. So you know the assignment. You know the assignment. Early voting has already started. Ballots have already dropped, and you have an obligation to your ancestors and to those who are coming after you to fill out that ballot, to vote for Kamala Harris, and to talk to everyone else that you know in your state and in states far away, to let them know that we are all in this together, this thing called democracy. And it will only survive if we are wrapping our arms around one another and talking about the possibility that is Kamala Harris as our president. I am so excited that I was able to join you all on this call. Flowers and all kinds of snaps to Ashley for putting this on and inviting us all to share our stories so that we can all hear each other's voices and march to victory on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Black Women in Entertainment is so happy to have you. Shout out Evan, my big sis, for putting this all together and having us be in community with each other as we can make it to the finish line. And so our next speaker is also a politician, but her constituents are her classmates at Spelman College, the historic all-women's HBCU in Atlanta, Georgia. Simone has also got to go on the trail with the campaign and is part of the Young Democrats and has been instrumental in organizing Get Out the Vote efforts on Spelman's campus. Welcome, my Spelman sister, Simone Moles.
Thank you so much for the lovely intro. It is such an honor to be on here with you tonight. Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Ashley. And thank you, team, for your hard work. This is a tremendous honor, but I am excited to dive right in. The question tonight is, why do we vote? It's a question that demands more than statistics or policy points. It calls for stories, for the lived experiences that shape our hopes and our fears. For every time we get out to vote, we're casting a vote not just for a candidate, but for the values we hold dear, for the future we believe in. Our stories, our votes tell the story of where we've been and where we dream of going. The streets of Bridgeport, Connecticut were where I first learned to fight, not with fists, but with words, with heart, and with hope. My fight has always been for the people that I love and the community that I cherish, a calling inspired by the people and values I was raised with. My mother, a devoted public school educator, spent her days in the classroom battling inequities with the same kind of fervor I saw my father, a pastor, use from our pulpit. It's no accident that my middle name is Imani, faith in Swahili. Faith both in God and in the power of service was embedded in every fiber of my being. It is the compass that guides me in all that I do. Good evening again. I am Simone Moles, a graduating senior political science major, proudly serving as president of Spelman College's Student Government Association. Back at home, my mother's classroom was my first battleground. She was relentless in her mission to equip her students with the tools to break through systemic barriers. She fought for her students with the same fierceness that she brought into our home, believing in the potential of every child and demanding the same level of excellence from the system as she did herself. I remember watching her prepare lesson plans late into the night and early in the hours of the morning, always searching for ways to give her students more than what the world had offered them. Her fight became my fight, and it was her example that inspired me to take action at just 12 years old, advocating for charter schools in our district. But it wasn't just the classroom that I learned the power of faith-driven advocacy. In our family, the church is core. My grandfather, the late bishop, and my father, a pastor, filled the pulpit with words of hope and justice, calling on our congregation to act on their beliefs. I absorbed their sermons with resilience and community, and I came to understand that faith without works is dead. Through them, I learned that faith isn't passive. It is active, alive, and always pushing towards a greater purpose. Every Sunday, I saw how the both of them used their voices to inspire change, and I realized that my voice too could be a tool for justice. Together, my mom's dedication to her students and my father and grandfather's leadership in the church taught us that advocacy and service are sacred duties. Whether in the classroom or the sanctuary, the message is the same. We are all called to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. That fight, rooted in faith and action, became my life's work. Carrying this torch to Spelman College, my resolve only deepened, for as SGA president, I continue to fight tirelessly to ensure that Spelman students' voices are uplifted and not only heard, but acted upon. My journey with advocacy, of course, has not ended here. As Ashley mentioned, I am so excited to be on the trail with the Harris for President team alongside our Madam VP and Governor Tim Walz, witnessing leadership at its core. This role was a new form of advocacy, one that brought details, showed me that detail speaks volumes, and the mission of hope that I've harbored since childhood is ever spent. My story, the story of why we all vote, brings us to this pivotal moment. A beacon of hope for our generation encapsulated in this election. Our ballot is more than just a vote. It's a statement, a declaration of the future we envision and we deserve. That's why my vote will passionately be cast for Vice President Kamala Harris. As a Black woman and proud HBCU student, Kamala Harris's candidacy is not just political, it's personal. It represents a milestone where I, for once, feel genuinely seen, heard, and represented in politics. It echoes the empowerment that I feel at Spelman, reaffirming my belief in what's possible when paths are carved with intentionality and courage. The issues at stake, women's rights, support for HBCUs, justice, equity, equality, you name it, are not mere political debates. They mirror the lived experiences of people like me, students who grasp the weight of our voices and our votes. Our engagement, Gen Z's engagement in this electoral process, is how we will assert our power, how we ensure our voices reverberate through the halls of power. I stand before you, or sit before you, compelled to spark change. Because our nation's future hinges on our collective action, this election transcends this moment. It's about, for me at least, safeguarding the dreams and aspirations that have journeyed with me from Bridgeport to Spelman to the very heart of our nation's capital. I leave you with the words from Paul in Galatians 6 and 9, the words he shared to a community facing challenges and opposition that made it a little too easy to feel discouraged. Be not weary in well-doing, for in due season you will reap if you faint not. Like Paul's audience, we too know how exhausting it can be to push forward, especially as advocates for justice and progress. The weariness of fighting for change, battling systemic inequities, and standing up for what's right can weigh heavily on us. It's easy to feel tired, to wonder if our efforts will make a difference, but Paul's message is clear. Our labor is not in vain. There is a harvest waiting in just about 21 days, but we must press on. In these final days, as we face what feels like the biggest fight for our democracy, this scripture speaks directly to us. We cannot afford to grow weary now, for this is our fight, a fight for our communities, a fight for our families, our faith, our futures, a fight for our justice system, our education system, our right to choose, my right to choose, a fight for me, a fight for you, a fight for us, all of us, alongside a leader who understands and champions our cause. Kamala Harris stands with us. It is with unwavering pride and hope that I stand with her tonight. Let us rally, let us vote, and in hand together, let us carve out this future that we envision and that we so rightfully deserve. We've got 21 days to make it happen, and I am more than confident that we'll be able to do so. Thank you again to Black Women in Entertainment for Kamala for putting this event on. We are excited to get out the vote.
All right, now that was a word from my Spelman sister. Now the Gen Z takeover continues. Up next, we have actress, changemaker, producer, my dear friend and fellow Gen Zer, Lexi Underwood.
Hi, hello everyone. I am so excited to be here today, working with you all to elect Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz as the next President and Vice President of the United States, and also to make sure that we elect Democrats up and down the ballot in November. So a little bit about me. I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I vividly remember when President Obama first ran in 2008. I was 5 years old at the time. And something that really sticks out to me was the excitement and the hope that resonated within my own home, my family, and my community. And it just left an indelible mark on me. Even being in kindergarten during that time, we were all going to school saying, yes, we can. And there was just so much excitement, hope, and possibilities for our future. For me, the Harris Walz campaign is incredibly reminiscent of that same excitement and energy. I grew up in a very socially conscious household. My grandfather, who lived in Gastonia, North Carolina, he was heavily involved in the civil rights movement in his own community. So organically, I've always had the understanding that we have a calling higher than ourselves. After Trump's presidency and the insurrection, something was unearthed that bubbled beneath the surface in this very country. That very thing that our ancestors marched and they gave their lives to change so that future generations wouldn't have to experience, such as the same exclusion of rights, bigotry of Jim Crow laws, or the stench that racism leaves in our community, is now being promoted from the platform of the highest office in the land. So when someone's entire platform is steeped in race baiting, stoking, and manipulating people's fears and bias because someone looks differently or they love differently or worship or pray differently using the dog whistle of Make America Great Again, how dare I not get involved? I feel like we all have a duty and we all have a right, but specifically to ensure that our ancestors' blood will not be in vain. There are so many crucial issues for this upcoming election. We are at the intersection of democracy and a dictatorship, from women's reproductive rights to sensible gun control legislation, climate control, education system, affordable living for middle and lower income households, and LGBTQ rights, accountability in our judicial system, along with everything with Project 2025. I am fully invested in helping to get VP Harris elected as president. I believe that our vision for the future is also a fight for freedom. So like my ancestors, I choose to move forward with a wavering hope that we are bigger and that we are better at our core than the lies and the hate that are constantly spewed at us. Our collective fight for humanity will win because when we come together, when we all fight together, we win. And just like all of our ancestors, we are not going back. So I'm here today using my platform as a young Gen Zer to ensure that everyone is aware that we have work to do. We have doors to continue to knock on. We have people to talk to. We have phone calls to make, and we have an election to win. During this time, it's so easy to get lost and to listen to a lot of the propaganda that's spewed at us, especially with Gen Zers. There's so many statements that are always echoed along the fact that discrediting what we know because of our age, but this is the time to not back down. This is the time to stand firm in what you believe in. So I'm here today to continue to echo those statements that we all have work to do. And I hope that everyone is ready to continuously with this fight, because I truly believe that if we all come together, we will win. Thank you all again so much for having me today. Everyone has been absolutely incredible, and I can't wait to see the outcome of November 5th.
Thank you so much, Lexi. And a quick unscripted thank you to Black Women in Entertainment for Kamala for platforming Gen Z voices, because we do have a true stake in this election and want to champion our own futures. So thank you for platforming us. And we want to also platform the futures of those coming behind us in Gen Alpha. So just a quick thank you to the team for making sure that we had this opportunity before the election to let our voices be heard. And to those of you who live in Georgia, remember early voting starts today. Up next, we have another powerful speaker, LGBTQ+ advocate and political strategist, Hope Jackson, of no relation, but hi, Hope.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you all for having me tonight. I am so excited to be here with y'all. I've been jumping out of my seat all day, getting ready for this moment. Again, I'm Hope Jackson. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a graduate of the Albany State University and HBCU in Southwest Georgia. I had to say that, y'all. And when I think about my HBCU experience, it brought me nothing but joy. As I think about this moment we're in, I'm centering joy in all of the work that I'm doing, and I hope you all are doing that as well. We have an important moment ahead of us. We got 21 days left, and as I think about the time that's coming, I think about where I want to be on election day and what my future looks like, what our future looks like. And so, despite the many titles I have held over the years, I'm going to say I'm a fancy organizer. That's what I do. I'm an organizer, I'm a storyteller at heart, and I think that's what a lot of us do here tonight. So, no matter your title, I hope you see yourselves as organizers. Our stories. As someone else mentioned on the call earlier, our stories are more than just data. Our stories are the fabric of the quilt that we are weaving together. It is the quilt that our ancestors envisioned for us. And so when I think about that future and what our ancestors envisioned, I know that what that requires me to do is to show up for Kamala Harris. That's who I'm casting my vote for. I ask that you do the same. That is the only person in this race that is going to get us to the happiest version, the liberated version of a future that we are envisioning and that our ancestors envisioned for us. And in my future, I believe there's joy. I think that there is liberation for all of us, but in order to get there, we have to do the one thing that we know we have the power to do, and that's vote. Even if you don't agree with all of the issues of where Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz stands, we know that absolutely Donald Trump is nowhere near aligned with our issues, our stances, with our values. And this year we have to vote with our values if we do nothing else. The only person that can get me closest to that liberation is going to be Vice President Kamala Harris. And so I ask you to consider that as well as you use your power this year. Every day, I am honored to work alongside young people across this country, young people at HBCUs and universities, BIPOC, LGBTQ plus, folks of lower income and women. And what I know is young people have a lot to lose in this election, and we can't leave it to chance. We've done that. We've seen where that's gotten us. And I think this year, everyone has to show up. If you don't think you have power, just reflect back on what has happened in this country in years past. Every one of us has power. Every one of us has the ability to make change in this country. And so when I think about that future for young people, for reproductive justice movement across this country, our power to make our own decisions about our bodies, our self-expression, informed decisions about the future we want to have, regardless of our race, our sexual orientation, our income, our class, where we live, and who we love. And so I think about the 41 million Gen Z young folks that are eligible to vote in this election. That's a lot of people and a lot of power. That's an incredible voting block that we have right here with us. And so young people across this country, they care about the issues just like any other generation. We know that young people care about affordable health care. We care about rising housing costs. We care about the cost of living. Young people care about accessing abortion and sexual reproductive health without stigma or criminalization and stopping gun violence in this country. We know that young people's voices matter, and in November, we're going to make sure everyone else knows that, and that young people continue to be centered in this conversation. And as an organizer and storyteller at heart, I must do the thing that I am called to do. And I'm going to ask you all to do the same. A role of a good organizer is one of the axioms, if you've ever read the book, is to set folks ablaze and to spark action. And it is my duty tonight to make sure that the people here have an opportunity to work for what you believe in, to work for the values that we want to see in this country, and to get behind the people that are doing that work. And so as my duty, I'm here to call you into the fight. If this is your first time showing up to hear more about Kamala Harris and the campaign and the work that's happening across this country, I urge you to lean in and listen in. As we near the last 20 days of this campaign, it is imperative that our work together be sustained with not just our collective resources, but our commitment. And this is the momentum that it's going to take to win. And so our joy, our liberation depends on that. I think about my duties as an organizer. I know there is only one candidate who is standing behind the people, and that candidate is Vice President Kamala Harris, pushing for what we need to the forefront and providing an opportunity for us to work for what we believe in. And so that is why I'm casting my vote for Vice President Kamala Harris as our next president of the United States. She is for the people and the only candidate that will lead with our values and not self-interest. And so I hope tonight that you really lean in and listen, because we all deserve a future where joy and liberation is centered. I hope that something has been sparked within you. I hope that you are set ablaze, and I hope that you are ready to get involved in this campaign and for us to see that opportunity move through. And so as you cast your vote, do it early. Let's not wait. We don't have to. We can use our power right now. And as you cast your vote, ensure that you are also telling 3 friends, because we know the power of word to word. And so thank you all for your time tonight. It's been beautiful being here with you all. Our collective power will show in November, but we don't have to wait until then. Let's get it done tonight.
Thank you so much, Hope. It has been such a pleasure and honor to share this virtual stage with so many amazing speakers tonight. I hope everyone is as energized as I am. And as Hope said, remember, the election doesn't begin on November 5th, it ends on November 5th. Let's make sure that everyone knows that early voting is a vibe, okay? All right, that was my Gen Z coded sign off. And as we get ready to share final calls to action, I yield the floor back to the founder of Black Women in Entertainment for Kamala, Evan Seymour.
Thank you, Ashley. You did a fantastic job. I've been getting blown up like, ooh, Ashley's doing her thing. I'm like, yes, girl, she is. That's why she's the leader of the Gen Z. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You did a fantastic job. Our last speaker for this evening is Rhonda Fox, National Women's Engagement Director of Harris for President, who is currently out on the campaign trail. Yes, Rhonda, I don't even want to say where, because you might not be where you were when we talked yesterday. So I'm gonna let you tell the people, but she is going to share with us what is going on the campaign trail and what we can do in the coming weeks to help ensure that Kamala Harris is the next president of the United States. Welcome, Rhonda.
Yes, thank you, Evan, for having me. And yes, I was in Pennsylvania for the last couple of days, but I am getting ready to depart to North Carolina for a couple of days. Look, you've heard a lot tonight about what's at stake in this election for people of color, Black people particularly, and for women. We've also heard a lot about the contrast at stake in this election. So I'm here to tell you to end this call today with the real hard facts of where we stand right now in this election and what we have to do if we want to make sure that we're positioned to win this election. So really quickly, we know that this is going to be a tight race. We've always known that. In 2020, President Biden won across the battleground states for the Electoral College victory by less than 44,000 votes. That's a couple of football fields that really drove this election for President Biden. In 2024, we know that that majority is going to be even slimmer for whoever wins this election, which means we are very much within the margin of error when we look at polls. It could go either way. And we like to say here at Harris for President, we are within the margin of effort. So if we do what we have to do over these next couple of weeks, we can ensure that Vice President Harris and Governor Tim Walz wins this election. Because again, we know that our freedom for reproductive freedom, economic freedom, the freedom to love who you love, to live safe from good and violence is at stake in this election. We understand that Donald Trump is the candidate that wants to take us back, while Vice President Harris is the candidate that wants to push us forward, create an opportunity economy for all. So here's what we have to do in these next couple of weeks. You heard about it a little bit earlier in this call, but I'm going to drop a video. I'm going to drop this video in the chat for everyone to have. It's a 2-minute video. And in this video, it's going to give you some QR codes of the things that we heard about earlier in the call to action that you can scan a QR code and get connected right away. So the first thing I need everyone out there listening who's fired up to help us win this election, I need you to talk about this race. People are 20 times more likely to listen to someone that they know. That means they're going to listen to you, their friend, before they listen to me, before they listen to Evan, before they listen to CNN, before they listen to Fox News. So if you're out there talking to 4, 7, or 47 people, we truly can get to that 44,000 that made the difference in 2020 for President Biden. So talk about this race, talk about those freedoms, talk about the contrast in this election. And most importantly, don't just talk to your girlfriends, talk to the men in your life, your partners, your fathers, your pastors, your sons. Make sure that they understand a vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for you as a woman that they care about, but also a vote for their economic freedom. And also, we've heard a lot tonight about Gen Z. It's 41 million of them that are now eligible to vote. And we as women have a lot of influence over our young people. I'm not a mom, but I'm an auntie, and I can talk to my niece and my nephew about this election and make sure that they have a voting plan in place. So be that messenger. Help us persuade people to take action on election day. The other things we desperately need you to do. I need you to write a piece of paper on this one or scan these codes that you see, because this is a big deal for us. Here's how we're going to win this race. This is what a lot of people don't know, but I'm going to give you the inside scoop on how we're going to win this race. The vice president has built an unprecedented campaign infrastructure. We have over 312 campaign offices open all across this nation. And we have over 2,000 campaign staffers in those campaign offices. That's across our campaign and our sister committees. We've got a lot of woman and manpower in our battlegrounds, but we're counting on you to get us into that margin of effort. That means taking a day to help us knock on doors, taking 45 minutes to make some phone calls. And so you can go to that 2-minute video and scan a code and go to go.kamalaharris.com. That's going to help you find a phone bank. That's going to help you find a canvas. That's going to help you get connected to a campaign activity so you can answer Michelle Obama's call to do something. So we need you to join us in doing the phone banks. We need you to join us canvassing. Now, if you don't live in the battleground, you're not going to go knock on doors. We don't need you to do that necessarily. But what we do need you to do is come to a battleground. We provide buses, we provide hotels, we provide transportation. If you're in California, you want to come help us make the difference in Arizona or Nevada, get on a Harris bus. Come volunteer with us. I was in Pennsylvania. We welcomed over 250 women from all across the nation to come just with Women for Harris Walls into Pennsylvania to knock doors. We call that our Surge program. So watch that video, scan the QR code. You can go straight into our Surge program and join me in North Carolina this weekend. And yeah, we can stop by A&T's homecoming. Gee-ho, sure, why not? But we've got to do the boots on the ground work. And lastly, this is the big one. We're already seeing it as early vote starts. People want to see someone that looks like them when they go cast their ballot. We already know that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are going to be out there up to no good on election day. Voter intimidation is real. So we need you to sign up for voter protection, especially Black women. We need you to be at the polls being vigilant and making sure that people have a positive and productive voter experience. And so watch that video. See, I stay on message and scan the QR code, and please volunteer for voter protection. And as we said earlier, you don't have to be a lawyer to do that. You just got to be someone that wants to make sure the integrity of this election is protected. So again, the 4 things we need you to do over these next few weeks to make sure the Vice President and Governor Walz wins this election. Make sure you're talking to people. You are our best messenger. You can help us turn out the vote, but also persuade last-minute voters. The other thing is surge into our battleground states. Get on a bus from California. Get on the bus from DC. Get on the bus from New York and go into a battleground state and do a few hours knocking doors, talking to voters. And for us of color, it really matters because people want to hear from someone that looks like them. And then the other things we need you to do, voter protection is critical and key. And finally, go.kamalaharris.com and sign up for our phone bank. In just an hour, you can help leave messages for over 1,000 people. I know it sounds impossible, but trust me, you can. In an hour, we can reach thousands across the battlegrounds. So thank you for hosting today's conversation. We know this is going to be a tough election. It's going to be very close, but again, it's in the margin of effort. So do some effort, help us win, and we will see you on the other side of victory.
Thank you, Rhonda. Appreciate your time. Safe travels. It is always great to hear directly from the campaign about what we can do to support VP Harris ahead of this pivotal election where so much is at stake for our country. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to join Black Women in Entertainment for Kamala for our second Zoom call to action. Take care of yourselves. Keep fighting the good fight. Happy homecoming season to my fellow HBCU grads, and to everyone, I wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you.